Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Within Warzone right now, we've got a lot of very competitive options across the board, of course. A lot of them having some very fast time to kills, all things considered. Obviously, this year with the 300 health and how certain weapons behave with velocity or recoil or whatever else, the general time to kill is a bit slower than what we've seen in the past, but a few weapons in particular stand out with some very, very fast TTK numbers. And today, I wanted to break down the top 5 best TTK weapons and setups you can use right now. So all the information today stems from true game data with a combination shot TTK factored in, so it's the most up-to-date, detailed stats that we've got for Warzone. As always, huge shout out to Tony for putting in the work. And we're starting first with the TR-76 Geist from MW2. We obviously know MW3 weapons dominate the meta, but there's a few select MW2 guns that actually have some pretty crazy TTKs within this video, the Geist being one of them. At 23 meters, which is like decent sniper support range, but it also extends out relatively decently. It's got a 658 millisecond TTK. That's besting a ton of MW3 rifles and even other close range options in that area. It is a little bit slower and heavier and clunkier because it's an MW2 gun, which is unfortunate, but if you got your sights up, this thing is going to melt. So speaking of sights, I've got the glassless optic on here. Adds in some firing aim stability, which is pretty clutch on any MW2 gun, and it's a nice clean blue dot. We got the 45 round extended mag. That's the max here. This fire rate doesn't go crazy, so it's enough ammo to have a good DPM. I actually use the skeletal vertical grip. This increases your ADS speed, makes that a little bit faster. Same deal with your sprint to fire, and then also helps out with vertical control. There's not a ton of horizontal on this thing. Like I said, slow and clunky, so if we can get some control and a little bit of mobility, I'd take that as a win. I also go for the bridle heavy barrel, better range, velocity, and control on here. If you wanted to speed things up a little bit, you could also try something like the Lock 5 that won't be nearly as harsh for some of the other cons. It just won't be as good for the velo and range, so take that into consideration. Then lastly, Spirit Fire suppressor here is pretty solid. A Zem 35 I think would also be viable here if you want to gear it more towards the mid-range there. So you definitely got some ways to build this thing out. All of them, again, as long as you're landing shots, are going to be very, very quick to kill. Now the Kastov 545, also an MW2 weapon that has a crazy good TTK, especially in its first and second damage ranges. So again, as an aggressive rifle or for sniper support, however you want to play it here, get your sights up in that close range and this thing will melt. At 33 meters, it's got a 736 millisecond TTK, which is ridiculously impressive, and it's even quicker before that, obviously, in its first damage range as well. Again here, MW2 weapon, so I do try and tend to go with the glassless optic in this case, but 2.5 times 9-hour slate, a lot of optics would work here. It's just simply a matter of preference. 60 round mag here works. If you want to go more for an aggressive route with like sniper support, 45 would also be viable as well, I would say. This is a super low recoil gun, so I actually like the angled underbarrel here. No cons to your ADS or anything else. It's just a little bit of horizontal control and some idle sway, which is pretty consistent. We got the 406 barrel, velocity, range, and control on here. And then I also go for Spirit Fire suppressor yet again, but again, for sniper support, Zem 35 would be viable. Castus break could be pretty good here too. Matter of how comfortable you are with the gun and how much you want to boost, that velo up some and get some extra range out of that. But yeah, Kastov 545, pretty nice right now as well, especially when built to be more aggressive. And by the way, as we are breaking down all the weapons and setups here today, if you enjoy the video or if you find it helpful, a like is always appreciated. And if you are new to the channel or you simply have not subscribed yet, let's change that. This is your one-stop shop every single day for all things going on in COD, so feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. Next up, we have probably the highest skill gap weapon on the list here today, but oftentimes in these best TTK videos, you're gonna find high skill gap weapons because that's the trade-off. They're very difficult to use, but if you can use them effectively, they have a crazy fast TTK. And that's the case here with the FTAC Recon. At 40 meters, it has a 598 millisecond TTK. That is significantly faster than our previous two options at a much further distance. But this thing's not easy to use. You are super limited on ammo, and you can spam this, which means your recoil is going to be decently rough as well. But a 15 round extended mag is the max here, so you're gonna need to stockpile ammo in your inventory. You're gonna burn through it with this thing, but hopefully you're burning it into enemies, knocking them, then having a breather to reload there and get back into the fight. I do also go for 2.5 times. Glassless would be viable here as well for what it's worth. I've kind of gone back and forth with what I want to use here for some control. SAC and ZX is solid, but it's going to hurt your idle sway, and I usually try to avoid that, especially for mid to long range guns, but it's an MW2 weapon, so hey, you want to use a stock? Well, it's going to hurt your idle sway pretty much no matter what you do, unless you want to use something like PSO heavy, which gives you a whole 2%, Whoop-de-doo, that's going to do a whole lot for you. The lasers, I mean, like maybe that'd be viable here for a better ADS, but that's not super significant. Ammo, we don't have high grain here, only high velocity, which hurts your range. That's not ideal. And then the MW2 barrels, yeah, they extend your range out some, but again, killing idle sway, which kind of sucks. So you could use a barrel, you could use a rear grip there. I do think using Bruin Heavy and Spirit Fire Suppressor is sort of a mainstay, but unfortunately, being an MW2 gun, the vast majority of its attachments are super underwhelming, so you just try and use as many different MW3 attachments as you can. Following that, this one's, I guess, kind of an MW2 and an MW3 weapon because it's the Lachmann Shroud, but it's with the Jack Decimator kit on it, which turns it into this fully auto MP5. And this build in particular is meant for tac stance because this thing has a crazy TTK at 10 meters, which is like prime close range, 600 milliseconds. That's really, really fast, up there with the absolute best SMGs. And if you want to get that, you know, fast TTK, but still have this be an aggressive SMG because it's an MW2 one, you got to go all in on mobility, but that kills your control. But the trade-off there is that you can still be super accurate in tac stance and have good mobility here. So obviously we've got the Decimator kit on there. I do kind of dislike more recently that all the aftermarket parts take up one of the 5 attachments just because it does limit you a little bit more, but stockless mod on here, so you get the best mobility across the board when it comes to, you know, sprint to fire, general movement, strafe, tac, sprint, everything like that. It's still going to be a snappy and aggressive, but those recoil cons are not super relevant because we're flipping this thing into tac stance. For that, I use the Kimura laser sight. It's got the best tac stance spread there. Also Bastion angled underbarrel, best tac stance spread there too. So this will be really accurate with that. And then of course, just the basic 40 round extended mag, 50 round extended mag, either or would work there, honestly. So it's an interesting build, and you do got to rely on that tac stance movement and sort of feel there, so it might take some getting used to, but when you land your shots up close, this thing is pretty nasty. Hey everyone, real quick, just want to shout out my friends over at G Fuel. It's heating up outside. We've got COD updates dropping almost every single week. We've got Black Ops 6 on the horizon, so whatever you might be looking for from G Fuel, they've got you covered. Hydration tubs to make sure that if you're going out and about in your daily life, you are hydrated, you're good to go there. If you're sitting down grinding some games, leveling up weapons, whatever the case may be, they got the energy tubs, they got the cans, tons of different flavors, so a little bit of something for everyone there. If you're ever interested in picking up anything at all from the G Fuel site, be sure to throw in code IMMORTAL at checkout and it'll get you a nice little discount. The link for that will be down in the description below. And then lastly here, a bit of another high skill gap weapon, but I think it's a lot easier to use than the FTAC Recon. It's the KVD Enforcer, and at 44 meters, this has an 834 millisecond TTK, which is incredibly competitive, one of the best in game for semi-auto guns. And this thing also has a ridiculous damage range. Keep in mind, those are the base numbers that we're going off of there. We can obviously extend these ranges out quite a bit, but 2.5 times Eagle Eye, yet again, no real surprises there. The 20 round extended mag is the max here. Luckily, this thing's fire rate is not crazy like the FTAC Recon. I feel like you can spam a lot more, but this has a little bit more ammo security, or a bit more of a safety net here, right? I do go for high grain. We're up to nearly a 1200 velo, so this thing's gonna feel like hit scan pretty much at any range, and almost a 65 meter first effective damage range. That's really, really good for a fast TTK, right? Bruin Heavy support, extra efficient on semi-auto guns because it does offer the idle sway and the firing aim stability, so that's pretty clutch. And then I go for the integrated suppressor, so it's keeping me off the map, but also doing a lot for your range and your velocity here. So I really do like the feel of that quite a bit. Kind of a unique build, but also a really effective one if you are good with semi-auto guns. And that being said, that's gonna wrap things up. Those are 5 of the best TTK options here in Warzone right now. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. And if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out so you can guarantee you're always up to date with everything going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.